It is your buddy, Mike Messier. It's whatever you want to call it, WrestleMania weekend, Avalonia Festival weekend. That's my film festival. It's all types of things going on. I should say it's Avalonia Festival Selection Committee weekend, choosing the films. But let's get to the topic at hand. Chris Old, wrestling fans, Chris Old, basically playing my trump card, challenging me and my wrestling knowledge on who specifically is better, Edge or Christian. Now guess what, folks? Everybody always says Edge and Christian, similar to saying Hall and Nash, similar to saying Ricky and Robert, Hawk and Animal. So right away, for whatever reason, maybe because Edge has a one-syllable name and Christian doesn't, he has a Christian. It's technically a two-syllable name, although some might make a case for 2.5 or 2 1/3 syllables, if that's even possible, which it's not. But bottom line is this: why is Edge superior? And Chris Old is trying to make a comment, or I understand his full point. I just don't. I'm not going along with it. I'm not biting. I'm agreeing to disagree. In that, what Chris I think is saying is that on a technical level, if you were going to have some type of hypothetical match into measuring like a fucking NFL combine, not Columbine, but combine, and you were saying who does a better hip toss, who does the better hip lock, who sells better, Christian would be superior. And, you know, hey, that's a matter of opinion. That's totally subjective. What I do know is that Edge's matches, for whatever reason, and I'll get into some reasons, have meant more, have been higher profile. And Chris and other people, you know, are basically saying, well, you know, take away the big matches. Well, I'm sorry, but you can't take away the big matches. That's because that's what's counted here. You can look at Edge's career, especially, you know, the sweet spot of his career, say 2004 to 2008 or 2009. You've got feuds with Cena. He made Cena tolerable in a feud. Feuds with Ric Flair. Okay. Edge and, you know, all types of guys. Triple H, he had some contests, although they could have gone further with that. On The Undertaker, okay, Edge headlined a WrestleMania against The Undertaker. If you want to go by that strict wrestling fan, WWE pay-per-view mentality of who closed the show, Edge and Taker closed the show, not Flair and Shawn Michaels that particular year. I believe it was 2007. So the point, or maybe it was 2008. So the point of the fucking matter is, folks, you can argue, you could flip a coin or split a hair. Who could throw a hip toss better? Who could sell an armbar better? I mean, we're not talking, as I pointed out, NCAA wrestling skills or amateur skills. In that case, Kurt Angle would trump all these guys. But we were talking about making these moves matter, making each spear matter. Maybe it's the flowing locks, okay? If you want to go there, Edge had a hair style for much of his career that was a full head of hair, that had that old school, you know, Kerry Von Erich, whoever the fuck, flowing mane, which made moves look better and more impactful. Edge won King of the Ring, okay? And now, yeah, so, well, it's not about, people would say, it's not about fake victories. Then what the fuck is it about? Like having some combine of hip tosses and arm bars? I mean, if you were going to do a combine and say, well, which guy... I mean, it's in a sense what you're asking is who would be a better trainer, Edge or Christian? And I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I think Edge might want to fuck all the women students like he had a tendency to fuck other women wrestlers, and good for him for doing so. You know, who would you trust with your wallet? Probably Christian. Who would you trust with your friend, your female friend, or your girlfriend, or something of that nature? Probably Christian. But who's going to put asses in seats? It's that snake in the grass, bug-eyed, fucking coke-eyed weasel Edge. I'm sorry. So that's my goddamn point. Now, if you want to take up, I mean, I guess the sub-point is, and as wrestling fans we'll drive ourselves fucking nuts, but I think what Chris was trying to get to, and by the way, his hashtag, I couldn't find anything about it, TAW worldwide or whatever the fuck. I don't know if that's a joke on me or some type of joke. I didn't see it anywhere. But the point is, if you're going to take a look at, inherent pro wrestling skills and not talk about amateur background, in which case we'd be talking about Brad Renegans and fucking Kurt Angle all day and night, then you're talking about things like guys like Brad Armstrong, okay? I mean, ask any Mid-Atlantic guy from the fucking 80s. They'd say that Brad Armstrong was the better than anybody. But he didn't have the mic skills to get over. So there you fucking go. If you want to talk about guys with maybe mic skills but didn't have wrestling skills, then look no further than fucking Enzo. Just a year ago. I mean, a couple of months ago, Enzo had better mic skills or just a fresher approach or just seemed more genuine in his own bullshit than anybody going. But obviously his antics and his outside the ring shenanigans caught up to him. Big Kaz, are you going to say that he's the next Barry Windham? No, but he's a big guy who can move around pretty well and has a look, but the reason why he had Enzo in the first place was because he had no mic skills. So if you're going to take away mic skills and promos, which are pretty much the same thing, or big matches, then what is there? I mean, what's the criteria is what I'm saying. If nothing else, Edge came first, and not just in regards to Lita, because that was Matt, a little humor there, but Edge came first onto the scene of the WWE. I believe he came popping out at ringside during certain matches and did a whole thing with, I believe, Owen at the time and so forth. And Christian had to come around a little bit later. So, anytime, and Bruce Pritchard has said this, anytime somebody's first, or Cornette said it about the Fantastics on the Rock and Roll Express, anytime somebody's first, they're typically regarded as better. The exception being the Dudley Boys, because the two that we have in the Hall of Fame now, Bubba Ray and Devon, were not the original two in ECW. That was like Dances with Dudley or Sign Guy Dudley or Big Dick Dudley, whatever the fuck. So point is, I'm going to stick with my fucking ratings. Edge 1, Christian 2, and I did like Christian, and I do agree that he was underrated, but I think we can't change history. We can't make a time machine and go back to 2002 or 2003 and have a meeting with Vince McMahon and try to sell him on Christian. The story has it that Vince wanted Christian to have a blue bulb over his face, or a blue bar over his face, or a circle. And you can listen to Pritchard and Something to Wrestle, because they talked about that Christians talked about it too. Vince didn't like Christian's face. So blame Vince. Don't blame me. I'm just judging by what I've seen. Now then, so my ratings would be fucking Edge 1, Christian 2, Matt Hardy 3, and Jeff 4. And why do I not like Jeff Hardy? I just don't. I have a very good friend of mine who's a big Jeff Hardy fan. He even looks like Jeff Hardy a little bit. And I guess some of the music stuff people attach to with Jeff Hardy, but to me, he's just kind of a poser, a guy that's been hanging on, has no content. He's the predecessor to the Circle Monkeys, the fucking Flips guys, the Flip Monkeys. I mean, he does nothing for me, meaning Jeff Hardy. His singing is atrocious. He's had many trouble with the law. He's had horrible. I'm sure he's a nice guy when he's not horrible, but if you ever saw that diner video, he looks like a real jerk. Matt Hardy, I think, has redeemed himself. I think, if anything, Matt Hardy just, thinks about himself too much, kind of like a Mick Foley. He's his own biggest fan. But you got to give it up to him in the last 2 or 3 years with, Deleted and fucking Woken and Broken and all that bullshit. He's come on strong. And if you watch a Matt Hardy match these days, he can barely move around. I mean, he's very efficient, to be kind, with his movement, because he really probably has 20 years of fucking heartache and injured backs and legs and everything. So, point of the fucking matter is, why would I put Christian over Matt? See, even that. I mean, they were both ECW champions. You could really, if you wanted to, make a case for Matt a strong 2 over Edge. But I'll stick with Christian number 2. It really comes down to a subjective personal opinion on all this stuff. Now, when it really gets fucking interesting is if you threw the Dudleys in the mix. And there was, people said shade. Like, Bubba was acting very insulting last night. I thought the first time I watched it, it seemed very insulting, Bubba to Devon for no reason. And then I watched it again, and then I just kind of caught the vibe that these wrestlers, they're just a different ilk of people. And I think the more wrestling fans know about the wrestlers, they don't quite get it even now, that the wrestlers are just a different ilk. They're always going to bust each other's balls. They're always going to insult each other, fuck each other's wives and girlfriends and so forth. So just take it with a grain of salt. But yeah, from a common, normal person, it was very insulting how Bubba was treating Devon, and Devon had to kind of play babyface, and it almost seemed like they were working up to a feud between the two of them. I personally was disgusted and disgruntled how the Dudleys were treated during their last year run in the WWE, just losing every match. I think I counted that they won 3 matches on television, and 2 of those are over the fucking Ascension. And one was a big 6-man or 8-man tag with Rhino and Dreamer over the fucking Wyatt family. So I was disheartened, okay, mildly, how the Dudleys were treated like yesterday's crap and shit and garbage, treated like women in Saudi Arabia, or Arabia from the WWE. So the point of the fucking matter is this, folks. If you're going to put the goddamn Dudleys into that conversation, then you're talking about Bubba Ray Dudley and his solo run in TNA. You're talking about, what caliber of wives do these guys marry? I mean, you can make a strong case that Bubba Ray trumps all of them with fucking, what's her dick? Fucking Velvet Sky. I don't know if Devon's married now. He's got all those kids. It seemed like he introduced 4 sons. 2 of them are wrestlers, and one of them was white. I don't know if it's a stepson or whatever the fuck. But he's saying like he had 4 sons, and the 2 that I've heard of, Tyrone and Tyrell or whatever, stood up, and then the other 2 sat, and it seemed like the 4th son was like, he said, my sons, Tyrell, Tyrone, Tyrus, and Eddie. I'm like, whoa, that's must be adopted. So, point of the fucking matter is this: if I were to rank all 6 of those guys, now it's getting to be a little tougher. I'm probably going to go, that's a tough one. That's really tough. I would probably stick with Edge number 1, and it's a tough one, but for me, I would probably stick, it's a tough one. I'd probably go Edge 1, Bubba Ray 2, Matt Hardy. I even want to say 2A, but I can't, so I'll see Matt Hardy 3. Christian would then, I already fucked up my own rankings. So I'd say 1, Edge, 2, 2, Christian, 3, Bubba, 4, Matt, 5, Jeff, and 6, Devon. Sorry to Devon, but he never really made a singles impression. And Brother Devon or Reverend Devon, really didn't do much. Anyway, that's my fucking point. So Chris, here you go. It's your first dedicated response video. Wrestling fans, in your head wrestling fans, all the fans who are enjoying this weekend, remember, we have a choice. We don't have to watch this stuff, but we do. We don't have to eat sugar and corn syrup, but we do. This is what we do. This is who we are. It's in our blood. We can't help it. We're addicted. So just enjoy it. Enjoy the poison that we feed ourselves every year, every spring. Maybe we'll get lucky and somebody will juice old school. Maybe we won't. Enjoy your goddamn WrestleMania. If you're at the conventions, get a lot of autographs. Don't throw them away. You pay good money for them. And enjoy your weekend wrestling.